GM fam, today is Friday, June 7th. It's the first day of the rest of our lives, and we are spending it with the Yearn team, the Wavezon, as Yearn branded them, aka Wavey and Dudesahn, who have just released YCRV. So we're going to dive into all that and a ton more. We're also joined by DeFi Advisor here today, although he's going by D Advisor now. So without further ado, let's get this Llama party going. Dudesahn and Wavey, would you like to introduce yourselves briefly? Talk about who you are, what you do at Yearn?
Go for it, dude.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So really happy to be here. So I'm Dudesahn. I've been around the Yearn community for quite a while now. For the past probably couple years, been working a lot with Wavey, especially on things like Y curve and Y lockers that we like to call them, and just enjoy making cool products for Yearn that hopefully people like to use and help simplify yield and all that kind of good stuff.
Right on. And yep, hey guys, I'm Wavey. Been on actually the one Llama party before, so this isn't my first time. And similar history to Dudesahn. I think he's been around. I think he had me beat by maybe a couple months at Yearn. I could be wrong on that, but yes, been around. Dudesahn and I composed the Y Lockers team, like you mentioned, and we've been spending the last few months working on this Yearn boosted staker product. The long-awaited launch happened this week, so we're happy about that and looking forward to talking about it.
Excellent. And I know that it's been a interesting point in the community to be asking. Obviously, everyone was really excited by every Yearn launch, but this one in particular, because for the past since November, I think YCRV has been very much depegged. So all the time in the curve chats, I'm seeing people talking about this. Mostly it's people just saying they want to buy more YCRV to try and speculate on the depeg, but then hoping that something's going to happen that's going to improve the peg. So I know that this one in particular has been watched very fervently. Full disclaimer for anyone watching, I have already taken part in this new YCRV just to give it a test drive. I played a bit with the way that works is, and I'm not going to do it justice. I'd like to hear you guys explain it in much more eloquent terms. But basically, there's two different things you can do. You could just kind of sit there and passively auto compound your YCRV, or you can stake this for this kind of time yielding mechanism where it takes 4 weeks to kick in, and you have to harvest manually, but you earn stable coins and really good yield on stable coins. So I went ahead and tried it. I did the stable coins variety of it today, and it was very smooth interface. So congratulations.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for trying it out. And yeah, I guess we kind of talked about the peg being one of the obvious points that would probably come up on this call. But yeah, Y curve peg, definitely no surprise to anyone, has been kind of lagging behind, and there's probably a few factors for that. But one of the things that we've been trying to do over the last few months is listen a lot to users. What do they like about the product? What do they not like about it? Back when it was a week ago, I guess, when it was STYCRV. And, one thing is there's no option for users to earn yield in any token other than YCRV itself. So it's this auto compounding mechanism, which is great for anyone that's super long on YCRV itself, but without an option to earn as stables or any of these other tokens that exist within the curve ecosystem, it kind of left out a big portion of users and what they might have been looking for in terms of cash flows and how they receive those cash flows. So yeah, one of the big inspirations for this new design is obviously yield will be distributed as stable coins, in particular curve USD. Obviously, the major stable coin of the curve ecosystem. and we're actually going to be wrapping that in a Curve vault and or Curve USD vault. So users, even if they don't claim the rewards, they can just let them sit, and they'll be earning some nice APY on that. When they eventually do claim, yep, they can have stable coins. And then also for the other class of users who is super long on YCRV and just wants to auto compound and just earn passively, they can stay put in STYCRV and just get that auto compounding. Nothing changes for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at the numbers for my own like personal portfolio, because obviously the past few years have not been good for anything except for maybe like ETH, BTC, and Nvidia stock. But amongst the like curve wrappers that I held, like the one that actually ended up holding best for me, because basically like all the other ones were compounding back into curve, but curve kept going down in price. But the VECRV, like it actually was like earning pretty good dollar yield. So I've really like started to enjoy the like curve wrappers that give back dollar yield. So I feel like you did a really good job of talking with users in this case. Like I know that there's like a few different like takes on this. I'm trying to find the tweet from you, DeFi Advisor, talking about YCRV specifically, because you'd mentioned that like you're much more of the inclination that you like to just kind of sit there and passively auto compound your yields, because you don't have as big of a stack. Maybe you don't want to pay for the gas on mainnet to do it. So it really does seem like there's like just different use cases for how people do this, and it seems like you tailored these specifically to the use cases. So I'm curious, DeFi Advisor, could you talk a bit about like your take on this?
Yes, sure. Actually, I'm very excited about this new YBS model. Not necessarily for me, but I think that, and again, because I think that, my position is, I think, better off being auto-compounded yet. But I think that this can be such a big game changer for users who actually want to have their yield paid in cash and then have the opportunity to decide for themselves what they do with the money. Not to mention the fact that I was told that the token in which people are going to get paid is YCRV USD, which is actually a yield-bearing stablecoin, right, guys?
Yep. Yeah. So in both situations, right? I mean, we just you can either choose to just auto compound everything and earn more YCRV, and then even for people who kind of want to go to the V curve model, where you're earning stables that are also earning yield. So that's especially nice, even for some smaller users who you might want stables, but you don't want to have to claim every week, and just know that your stables will keep earning yield as they sit and wait for you, which is we also thought would be really nice to do.
So what's the source of the yield? And if I have to ask, does that mean I'm the yield?
No, it's a great question. Yeah, so the Curve USD is deposited to Yearn's V3 vault for Curve USD. So it's the Curve USD-2 vault. And that, I think the current strategies on that, I think it's currently farming Sturdy. And there's a Llama lens strategy is being hooked up to it probably in the next week or so. And I believe there might be one other strategy, but yeah, so essentially it's just farming lending markets where you can lend out your Curve USD.
Nice. And I'm trying to pull up the site, but I'm getting a bug. Maybe it's because I'm in the US here. But let me pop this up. And there's some confusion in the curve chat because the current percentage that's being quoted is rainbow sparkle percent. So it's unclear. Is this like because June is Gay Pride Month and you just want to like give out like rainbows, or what's like? Do you have estimates on the typical APR that people are getting at this point? Or is it too early to say?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So the reason why we have this as kind of a placeholder is since it is the first migration week. There's actually because of kind of the way that the protection mechanism in YBS works during the first week when people deposit. There's yield is not paid out during the first week, so that we wouldn't get people who hop in for, you know, one block and then leave for a week and then come back, you know, and go deposit into something else. So during that first partial week, users don't earn yield. So that's kind of what we're in right now. So yields shouldn't really change much. You know, they should be pretty typical to what STYCRV users have been experiencing. I think the most recent number was around 50%. And that will obviously fluctuate, you know, depending on how long, what the average boost of users deposited is. And we can get more into what boost is later, but it's, you know, basically the longer that you're staked, the larger of the share of the yield that you'll be earning.
Yeah. And I guess like maybe the TLDR way to say it is we're pretty strict on the site about just getting all of our calculations from on-chain data sources. So one of the limiting factors we have right now is since the APR is calculated on a weekly basis, we don't have the final numbers yet for how much is staked at the end of the first week and how much rewards have been topped up into the rewards contract. But once we transition weeks, those numbers should populate.
And you could see this like chart here on the UI, which got the UI working, by the way. So basically week 0, you get nothing, and then it kind of ticks up week by week. So it looks like after 4 weeks, you're at 2.5x. And I'm assuming it's plateaus there, or does it just keep adding 0.5x every single week until you get to like hundreds or thousands?
No, there's a plateau. So it's a really good question. And it kind of gets into the inspiration for this new YBS staking contract in the first place, right? So like obviously everyone here is familiar with how these typical VE lockers work. So you would like the sequence of steps is you max lock your tokens, and on day 1 you can have basically max voting power. But we wanted to kind of invert the script a little bit and say, instead of getting max voting power on day 1 of your lock, what would it look like if instead your lock grows over time, or your position grows over time? And then in addition to that, of course, is like we wanted to get rid of locks altogether. Of course, it wouldn't make a ton of sense for us to have a locker on top of a locker. Of course, VE, CRV. So we want to have no locks, and then the second requirement is to kind of have a growing weight instead of declining or decaying weight. And so that's kind of what we built with YBS. And of course, we don't want it to grow forever, because then there's like kind of that unfair advantage that users on day 1 might have, and there'd be no incentive for like some user a year from now to deposit. So we do cap it at 2.5x. So on the 5th week of your stake, you'll be at max boost.
And we've got this gorgeous chart here that shows off what happens when Alice, Bob, and Charlie all pop in. Their double rewards week, standard week, etc. So it makes a lot of sense. You know, if we imagine I put in, so if we imagine this morning I put in, let's say, to make the math easy, 1 million CRV, which is worth like $5 at today's prices, means that by a month from now, like July 7th, I can check this again, and that's when I'll be maxed out. But I can withdraw at any time.
That's correct. Yep. And then the other interesting thing to know is like, obviously the contract has to handle a situation where you curve cap, if you have that initial stack that you deposit or stake on day 1. And as that's kind of traversing through the system and growing in weight, you might deposit some more next week and the week after. So each of those deposits kind of become their own discrete entity flowing through the growth. And so some of your deposit your initial deposit's going to mature at a different time than the stack that you staked a week later. So that's all tracked in the system, and yeah, that will have an impact on your boost.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit onto that, what we also wanted to make sure is, you know, if you did do that and then you had to withdraw later, we didn't want for that to be withdrawing from, you know, your you know, precious fully boosted stake. So, you know, if you do deposit when you do withdraw, or, you know, when you do unstake it at some point, if you do have, you know, these various kind of growth states, the unstaking will pull from your least boosted stake. So it's kind of a bit counterintuitive that, you know, your overall yield will go down because you have, you know, less staked, but your boost will potentially go up because you're sort of removing less boosted positions. But, you know, overall the goal for that is to basically have the least negative impact on users whenever they are unstaking from the system, and keep their sort of longest staking stakes in the system. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I'm pulling up the code of it just so we can dive into it, because I know most apes are gonna just like dive right in without bothering to check the code, but we'll like help them out by going the extra step here.
Love it.
I'm curious, like I know Yearn uses a mix of Solidity and Viper. Why did you opt for Solidity for this one?
Yeah, Solidity here was definitely strategic, just because we have, as you can imagine, and I'm sure, Garrett, this is right where your mind was going, was that this sounds like it's getting a little complex, and it is. But yeah, you need to be really efficient with sort of your storage slots and in the work that you're doing in the contract to make this like reasonable on gas costs. I think we did a really good balance of that, and yeah, anyone reading the code, it's actually very interesting. I would recommend it to anyone who's like looking to learn about Solidity, like bit shifting and handling, yeah, just like these bitwise operations in Solidity, because there's a lot of efficiency gains that we got by doing that. So yep, and we chose Solidity basically for that reason. We could do really clever kind of storage slot packing. Generally, I do like to use Viper, and I'm a huge fan of Viper, but I think just the requirements here were helpful with Solidity. And also, I must say that there's a lot of inspiration that this contract drew from Prisma. So anyone who's looked at their contracts might notice, like, for example, how the weeks work, and some various things like that. Like some inspiration was drawn there. So, and since they're in Solidity too, that was helpful.
Now hold on a second. Influencers on Twitter told me there were no innovations in Prisma. It was just a straight up Solidity fork.
No, I'm a huge fan of what they had done with their tokenomics in their locker.
Not just influence. No, sorry to cut you off there. I was just saying that not just influencers said that about Prisma, by the way.
Yes, and yeah, I think they did a lot of like cool stuff on the tokenomics front. Whole new different style of VE system. Wasn't just a run-of-the-mill kind of fork of Curve VE, which is amazing, but obviously getting a little old in terms of DeFi years. So I definitely have respect for what Prisma did in trying to innovate on the token locker front.
Yeah, we won't derail the conversation just yet by going off on that tangent. But yeah, what you're totally right that like Viper intentionally nerfs its language to avoid too many bitwise type operations. They're like, if you're basically touching raw bytecode, Viper is sort of like not like interested in supporting that directly because it wants the code to be easy to read. But you know, I'm reading through the code, it like makes a lot of sense. I look forward to like diving in.
And I I should make a correction to what I said. So I think the bitwise stuff Viper can handle just fine. They do great at that. Honestly, I like how they handle like enums and stuff like that. So that wasn't the issue. Is more the storage slot packing that we did. I think it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not impossible in Viper. It's just a little more involved, I believe. So
Yeah, and I think specifically, since this was, since we knew this was going to be on mainnet, and we really were, and I say I think specifically Wavey really spent just insane amount of hours trying to make this as gas efficient as possible, because there's a lot of state that's being tracked here, and trying to make this as efficient as possible for users to be claiming these rewards and not have to just pay, insane gas fees, was a top priority for this, and I'm pretty happy with where this ended up for sure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, DeFi Advisor, you had some questions about the CurveUSD specifically, right?
Yes, just a second. Went back to the window to unmute. Yeah, I want to know like how does is this new system like did it become possible only because of the design of CRV USD? And maybe then if you can like elaborate a bit on how.
I wouldn't say so. I think I think this design like was always available and always could have been done. It was just um, you know a matter of us thinking of it uh, and yeah, it's like I said, it kind of originated back when um, we created a new channel in our Discord called Y Lockers, and we've gotten a lot of good voices there from the community, uh, and I think people were just really great ideas and feedback. So like every time that we had an idea, we'd just make sure to post there, and it was this iterative sort of approach where we actually had several different like iterations of this YBS design. In fact, sort of like an homage to Convex and what they did with sort of you've got this like sliding scale of do I want governance tokens or stable coins. Uh, we thought that was like an amazing idea, and we wanted to copy that at one point, and we started going in that direction. Um, but yeah, just through this iterative process with users and good ideas we've gotten from the community, uh, I think we kind of landed on this model. But there's nothing really inherent about what we've done that's like requires CurveUSD. Uh, I guess the same could have been done with 3CRV, but um, like now that CurveUSD is out, it's sort of the obvious choice to use. So we're happy that exists.
And then it would become a liquidity sink potentially for CurveUSD, right? If it's sitting in those CurveUSD pools, or am I mistaking how it works?
Oh, you're exactly right. And I think like because the contracts are permissionless and a user could conceivably just like let the reward sit forever. They're just earning great yield on their CRV USD. And they just let it sit there. They don't even have to claim or spend that gas money to claim. Um, and then all the while, like on the back end, that CurveUSD is going to get deployed to various markets according to the Yearn vault strategies.
Nice. So let's talk back about something. And by the way, we just crossed 700 viewers on X, so thank you. Make sure to like and share this post so we can get this over 7,000. If we get above 7,000, we might get who knows? Maybe we'll be able to like get some sponsors or something and keep this content available to all. Let's talk about the peg. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, like one of the biggest like topics in the curve chat is the various fate of all the different pegs of the different curve wrappers, and YCRV has been like really suffering since November. Is there anything about this new tokenomics that is going to like be helpful at restoring the peg, or do we think it's just going to keep kind of bleeding, or stay around this mark?
Yeah, I hope it improves. I have like my philosophy on the peg is that like there's not some secret mechanism of like that anyone's going to discover tomorrow that's like fixes the peg, right? It's more of a function of demand for the product. And I think that in the past, YCRV obviously has been a wonderful product, but it could have been better, right? And I think we're hearing that from users, and uh, this discussion so far, I keep mentioning, right, that users were heavily involved in like the design of this. And I think those voices and kind of their needs and the expression that, they want cash flows, they want stable coin yield. They don't want to be kind of locked into like the speculative nature of just auto compounding this YCRV governance liquid locker token forever, right? Like there should be another option for them. And so I think uh, that is desirable from users and prospective users. And like I said, I think if PEG is really a function of just demand for a product and people wanting to either convert into YCRV or purchase YCRV off the market, right? Like that's just gonna uh, start to show some improvements on the PEG. Yeah, I worry that like in the past, people might have dumped their YCRV positions because they weren't seeing any cash flows. And every time somebody just exits their position to either go to another liquid locker or just trade out entirely, that obviously has a negative impact on the peg.
Yeah. So I saw Yearn put out this post this morning, which is, first of all, like Yearn's, whoever's like your intern or social media manager just has like the most like on point memes. But like there is this like effect, it seems like, of like there's all these like DeFi boomers like me who just really like these kind of slow and steady cash flows. And I feel like a dinosaur in this market because no one cares about earning even really good yields. Like, this meme you are pointing out, you're getting 24% on DAI. In TradFi, I get like 5.5%. So you're getting like over 4x the like the returns that you would get if you're just like in TradFi, and no one cares. People are just like buying these like lottery tickets or like playing the meme coin roulette game, hoping that they strike it rich. Do you think that like DeFi is going to get back to this point where it's like appreciating the kind of like slow and steady cash flows, or like are we just completely out of step with the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really fantastic question. For me personally, kind of the philosophy that I try to take when I think about good products to build is things that are going to ultimately grow the ecosystem and help provide liquidity to the ecosystem, make that really simple for users, make it really safe, and yeah, I think a lot of these meme coins, there's I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with meme coins. People can make a lot of money, but ultimately people can also lose a lot of money. And I think what I'm really trying to build for is for a sustainable future where we have really solid decentralized rails that people can use to exchange value and just improve their lives. And I mean, yeah, that's probably a pretty boomer answer, kind of like you said. But it's kind of what gets me excited in the morning and makes me want to keep building stuff like this. And I think YBS is a really good step towards that because it's really taking what we had before in our product with STYCRV and allowing you to keep compounding those yields if you want to, but also earn yield in a stable coin that also supports the Curve ecosystem and also keeps earning you more yield. So you're earning say 40%, and then that 40% is also earning 20-30%. That's just a really nice place to be in.
Absolutely. Dudesahn, I know you need to bounce in just a couple of minutes. So before you do, is there any kind of like parting words of wisdom, final thoughts, anything you want to plug unrelated to anything you talked about, or just topics that you missed that you'd like to share?
Thanks for asking. No, I'm was really just glad to be here and glad to get to talk about YCRV. I think Wavey and I really enjoyed building YBS, and I'm really excited to see where this can go for YCRV, and really excited to potentially use this system for other products as well. We've already used it for Y Prisma. That was the first token that we launched for this as kind of a test run. I know there are other protocols who've expressed interest to us in using this code and forking it. And there's, other potential liquid lockers that we might build in the future that could use this as well. So I think all really exciting things, and excited to, build more on top of kind of what I would consider a new primitive. So, yeah.
Well said, sir. Well, thank you so much for joining. And before we have like 1 minute left, so I'll like squeeze in an irrelevant question. Is it dudes plural on, like the Korean last name, or is it dude singular san?
A very important question. What the people need to hear. It is Dudesahn. So yeah. So a lot of people at Yearn just refer to me as dude when they're trying to abbreviate it. But yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you for abiding with
All right,
us.
thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Hey, dude.
Respect.
Right on. Wavey, quick question for you on the we're still on YCRV. Like obviously, like audits have been a big issue with around protocols that you're very familiar with. Was there audits for all this?
Yes, we've had 2 audits on YBS, and I noticed dude slipped in there that we already have another protocol that has forked us, and they're doing a 3rd audit. So yeah, it's getting looked at. They made a couple small modifications, but yeah, it has been looked at by audit firms.
And most of the code base is similar to the Y Prisma. So like it's already essentially been tested and prod a little bit through that, right?
Yes, it's identical to the Y Prisma deployment, just different deployment parameters.
Okay. So it's essentially been tested and prod already through a protocol that already has hackers sniffing around it.
Yes, exactly. And yep. And Dudesahn also mentioned, right, we're trying to make this sort of like the basis for just a standard sort of Y lockers offering for all of your liquid lockers. So rather than operating like for any new liquid locker that we make, like different rules and revenues and like no standardization across products, like we want to do away with that and just kind of bring everything into like a very similar approach, and that's why we've kind of just like made factories for these deployments of the rewards contract, of YBS, everything. So when we need to deploy a new liquid locker, it will operate the same no matter which protocol.
Nice. So just as we're closing in on 1,000 viewers, certainly big thank you to all of you on X watching. So make sure to share, like, and get the word out there so we can get over 10,000. Let's hit a new record today and expand the reaches of DeFi beyond the handful of users. To recap, some of you may have missed it at the beginning. We're talking about YCRV. So YCRV has just released their new kind of staking program, where if you take no action and you were previously staked, you can continue to earn auto-compounded YCRV that will allow like you to have to take no action. Yearn will automatically take any yield you would get and convert it back into CRV. Or you can do this new system of staking and earning CRV USD. So if you do that, the yields don't kick in right away. There's like a 1 week wait period, and then over the course of a month, it ramps up. But by the end of a month, you're going to be getting a bunch of yield as CRV USD that is itself earning interest through Yearn vaults. And in order to actually get the rewards for that, you have to claim it. So it doesn't auto compound. You have to pay a bit more in gas. So you would have to manually migrate to get into that. And it might be better for not financial advice, but it might be better for users that are interested in making these claims manually, whereas the YCRV might be better for smaller fish that just want it to auto compound. Did I get that all right
Yes.
there? Okay. And the current
Yes, I
yield
think
is
so.
laid
Just
out in
a point
frames.
of Yep. I'll
Continue.
just a point of clarity. I think you got it right, but just to be sure, right? So if you decide to directly stake yourself in this new YBS contract, you'll be getting issued rewards every week. Those rewards, yes, you have to claim, but there's no pressure to claim them at any time. You can just, I mean, you could wait 2 years to claim them. But the nice thing is that your rewards come as a Yearn Vault wrapped version of CRV USD. So even if you're not claiming them, they're still going to be auto compounding that CRV USD yield. But if you're somebody that doesn't like stable coins and wants to trade that into a meme coin, yeah, you can claim at any time, dump them, whatever. And we'll have of course, like a cow swap integration and everything, so that you don't have to deal with actually withdrawing from that Yearn Vault. You can just trade the Yearn Vault tokens directly on cow swap.
Right on, right on. So we got a question coming in on X from Coconut Grows. So Coconut
Can
Grows,
I give a little shout out, Kev? I met
please.
Coconut Grows actually at East Belgrade. What a nice guy, man. Really nice to see you here on the stream, Coconut Grows. Really enjoyed meeting you there in Belgrade, and nice to see you with the questions there, man. What a nice guy,
Yeah.
guys. If you need anything, reach out to him. Really, what a great guy.
What a cool photo too. Like it looks like some Grand Theft Auto Vice City type art or something.
He's more handsome in real life. He's more handsome in real life.
Impossible, but very cool. All right, so Coconut Grows, who we've just spent the last 5 minutes discussing how great he is, he's still a bit confused about the APY. You need to wait for the approximate numbers he's asking. I think we kind of covered this a bit earlier. It's paid out in rainbows, correct?
Yes, exactly. Rainbows and stars, right? No, that those placeholders are just there temporarily. Like I said, we're being a little bit of sticklers about just like only using on-chain numbers for the APYs and just making sure it's trustless and everything. But the reality is, yeah, for anybody that's concerned about what those numbers might reveal to be, the answer is pretty simple, right? The same inputs into all the yield are staying the same. So it's still curve weekly admin fees, and it's still bribes. So so those will all be the same. Now the way that YBS works is different than what we had in the past, right? Like any two users who had 100 tokens, say, they would all be treated equally, right? Back in the STYCRV days. So you'd get the same yield as the next guy who had the same amount of tokens. But there's going to be a slight difference in our new model, which we've been talking about quite a bit here, which is that like no two users are the same necessarily. It depends on how long you've staked and what your weight in the new system is. So we've got like each user's got a boost multiplier to kind of express what your weight in the system is. And so your boost relative to everyone else in the system is what's going to dictate your rewards. The average APR in the system will be, I mean, I expect it to be the same as what it was before. The two things that are changing are just like the token that you're getting distributed yield as. So again, you now have the option for Curve USD. And then the secondary thing, of course, is how long you've staked in the staker.
So as mentioned, I did jump in earlier this morning. So if you subscribe to my newsletter at curve.substack.com, or presumably we'll post some updates also on the Leviathan new Substack, the Tentacle. But if you subscribe to either of those, we will continue to issue updates and let you know a bit more about how that's going.
Yes, and I should say, I think it's been pointed out before, but because this is the first week of YBS deployment, if you're planning on staking, sometime between now and Wednesday night of next week. Doesn't matter when, just anytime before Wednesday night would be a great idea to get in there, because that is when you're going to have the optimal allocation, right? Like I said, the distribution of yield is dictated by how much weight you have in the staker, and to get maximum weight, it's best to get in there on the first week.
Right on. So might be good for me. We'll find out.
Amen, sir.
But you know what's kind of crazy about it is, like, we talked a bit about it a bit when Dudesahn was on. But like, I really feel like it's like, for those few of us who actually care about like slow and steady cash flows, let's call it, it's like a really good time to be doing DeFi, like almost DeFi summer level of like yields, because it seems like again, nothing we talk about in here is financial advice or anything like that, but it really seems like the quote unquote risk-free rate in DeFi for stablecoin yield is double digits. It's like at least 10%, and pretty common to get like 20%. And that means if you're like willing to jump into some of the riskier stable coins, like you can get like 30% in some cases. And it's like just a different time from back when Luna was offering 20% and it was unsustainable.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
probably still unsustainable. I'm probably going to lose everything and you're going to see me on the streets soon. But it's like, it's kind of wild for those of us who like are not playing meme coin roulette and are just like interested in this like slow and steady cash flows. I'm having a blast.
Yes, I love it. I'm like you. I'm more of a conservative type investor, so I do like that, the high APY on the stables. That makes me feel good. But yeah, and I mean that's kind of like the core thesis, I think, of what people were trying to tell us when we were building this product, right? Is like, why not make a product that has, both those avenues available? You can speculate on the governance token, or maybe you're someone like that likes those high yielding stable coins.
Yeah, I mean, 2022, the best investment you could have made was just holding US dollars. So there's that. DeFi Advisor, you're becoming the main character a bit this week on X. Looks like you were supercharged from East Belgrade.
Did you see what happened with that post about Cardano? Did you see what happened with the post about Cardano? Man, it's crazy.
Yeah. We could get into that, or actually, that might be a good thing for a full show. But for now, I just want to talk about this nice exchange you had with a small cap scientist, kind of on a related topic here. Small cap scientist basically just said like the Curve finance ecosystem is undervalued, and then went on to say that like it's a pretty unpopular opinion. And then you talked a bit about the Y Prisma as well as the YCRV contracts, same mechanics as we talked about here. Pretty cool stuff. But like, what is your take on all this? Like you had that post earlier from the Yearn account talking about how like Yearn's a bit underappreciated for offering this yield. Curve is kind of feeling underappreciated, it sounds like, or like small cap science is saying that like Curve is underappreciated amongst the cool kids. Like, is DeFi 1.0 just like kind of doomed?
Was that a question for DeFi Advisor?
For the panel, let's just say. Anyone who's got opinions on this.
I think it's go ahead, Wavey. Go ahead.
I was just going to say quickly, yeah, no, I'm always bullish on Curve. I mean, it's incredible. I feel like if they launched new protocols for all these, like under a whole new name and brand, like for each one of these new protocols they're launching, like I feel like it would just get crazy hype. But maybe somehow it's held back because it's like this same old reliable Curve that everyone knows, and it kind of loses some style points for that maybe, and which is unfortunate because it's like such a reliable and great brand in DeFi, and they never stop shipping. They never it's just one great and innovative idea after the next. And I think like some of the new mechanisms that Curve's created in DeFi have been obviously like game changers, and under a different brand maybe like people would start to recognize that a little bit more. But But yeah,
It sort of
to
reminds me.
me, go ahead.
Have you heard about the effect where like Starbucks was trying to capitalize on the anti-Starbucks backlash by buying independent coffee shops that like promoted themselves as like very anti-Starbucks, but still like running and operating and getting all the revenue from it?
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious. But yeah, I guess it's kind of similar effect maybe happening.
It almost like reminds me of when Yearn, I don't know if this is before your time or before anyone's time, because I'm a crypto boomer at this point. Basically was trying to capitalize on the doggy coin phenomenon by taking the Wi-Fi token and releasing Woofy, which was
Yes.
exactly like convertible to Wi-Fi, just with like 10,000 smaller units, so it like looked like a penny stock.
Yes, that was hilarious.
I mean,
Yeah, I
talk
think
about like a
that
protocol that just is like so much fun and keeps shipping.
yeah, I remember those times. It like injected so much energy into the community. People loved it. It was like just the perfect like fun little like promo to do, and it didn't take more than a couple days. So
Was it audited?
I don't think so. I think we had some pretty good smart contract developers who put their eyes on it, but in reality, it's just like it was a super simple contract. Woofy was.
Yeah. DeFi Advisor, you had some questions about Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi,
Yeah, I'm
Wi-Fi,
actually
I don't
kind
know how
of
it's
curious.
pronounced.
Like, I think I think that I don't know. Like to me, Yearn is one of the most interesting teams, doing one of the best jobs. Like for me personally, I think YCRV, even before the YBS, I think it was the best rapper, despite the peg. And some would say actually, I think even the peg was kind of even an advantage for some of us who are into like accumulating. And I definitely think that yield wise, there is no second best, even before YBS. But I'm actually kind of curious about, and especially now that you guys have like Y Prisma and Y ETH and all kinds of like Y lockers. How much of that revenues you guys are making, if at all, is going to like VE fee holders, and like what, what's the case for holding Wi-Fi in a way? Because to be honest, I'm not holding any Wi-Fi at the moment, but like I don't know. I sometimes like tell myself like, should I?
Yeah,
Not
no, great
financial
question.
advice, of course, just for me, you know.
Yeah, so there actually were some updates over the last, well, certainly within the last year on Wi-Fi, and we launched our own VE Wi-Fi. The system, it works very similar to Curves. There was like some few modifications in that contract, but yeah, there VE Wi-Fi we do token buybacks, and maybe I should say like stay tuned because we've got uh, some really cool like automated auction mechanisms that are going to convert our fees, like any fee revenue that we generate, um, into obviously stables to pay our contributors, but also uh, into Wi-Fi that would get streamed to VE Wi-Fi holders. So, so yeah, right now we've got a Stake DAO, and there's a couple other. Cove is a new liquid locker, and One Up. So there's some liquid lockers on the scene. Uh, Dudesahn and I, as part of Y Lockers, we do not have uh, a liquid locker for our own Wi-Fi token. We're staying out of that game. Uh, but yeah, there are liquid lockers that you can join and get protocol revenue that way, or of course lock yourself in VE Wi-Fi up to 4 years and stream it that way. We also do offer like similar to how curve gauges work. If you have your uh, V3 vault tokens, you can, if it's an approved gauge, you can deposit that into a VE Wi-Fi gauge and get boosted yield on your vault deposits.
Very nice, very nice. And for those of you tuning in on X, we are like 25 viewers away from passing the 1,000 mark. So please make sure to like, retweet, repost, whatever they call it, subscribe, follow, comment, do whatever you can to get that post over 1,000. Because if you get over 1,000, then everyone can earn some squid, provided you join the Leviathan Squid Cave and help us post some headlines or appear on the show. Wavey, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but all roads lead to Prisma. Let's talk about Prisma.
Yeah. What do you want to talk
So
about?
I mean, we talked a lot about like last time we talked was like right after the hack, and it was like
That's right.
like kind of like somber times. But Prisma's still around, and I don't think people realize it. It's like keeps ticking, keeps working as intended, and like
Mhm.
all the people who wanted out probably have sold. So I'm kind of getting bullish on Prisma. Now, when I say bullish, I don't mean on prices, because I every time I invest in DeFi, prices only go down. But like I'm bullish in terms of like the protocol is going to survive and the technology is like sound, and Prisma is going to keep on ticking. What's your take on Prisma? Is it cooked or is it like going to rebound?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think obviously they're a fork of Liquidity, and that's one of the most like battle tested, resilient, and obviously uh, uh, trustless, permissionless, all those qualifiers, right? It's like the protocol is not going anywhere, and it's going to continue to work and be there for people who want to take out uh, with the MKUSD loans. So yeah, really bullish. I think the latest happenings, right? They're still sorting out. I check in on the Discord every once in a while, and I see like it looks like some users are proposing some compensation plans for the hack victims. I can't say I know the details enough about those yet to speak to them here, but yeah, it sounds like that that stuff's moving along. And yeah, as far as I know, it's still a pretty great yield uh, if you want to take out a loan in farm Prisma right now. I think people might be sleeping on that a little bit.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like after there's been a hack, like I always urge people to stay cautious and kind of steer clear for a bit, just while the dust settles, see what's going to happen. But like the dust has settled at this point, and it's still around. The team is not, in my opinion, like looking to abandon it or anything. It looks like they're still continuing to stick around and possibly even ship some stuff. They just onboarded some new collateral. So I was looking, and I wanted to get actually your financial advice on this. Of course, nothing is financial advice that we're broadcasting, but talking amongst friends, we can give each other like financial advice, and you can like be a fly on the wall. If I have a stack of Prisma, like I was thinking of just like staking it as VE Prisma, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on like where, or if that's a good idea or what I should look at instead.
Yeah, something that's actually really crazy right now. I'm going to the site. So I don't know if you've heard of Prisma.lol. I built that with another Yearn contributor, Marco Worms.
Oh yeah,
And if you
Marco's
go there,
great.
yeah, he's awesome. Actually, shout out to him because if anyone noticed the new YCRV or Y Prisma websites, he's the brains behind that. Him and another guy, Murder Teeth. So um, great work on that, Marco. But yeah, this Prisma.lol site does a comparison of the two Prisma liquid lockers, which is us with Y Prisma and then Convex with CVX Prisma. And depending on the time of day, I guess, like you'll notice that sometimes these liquid lockers go above peg, and I think that's kind of like a signal uh, that you're actually doing quite well by holding these liquid lockers and staking them, because the yield that you get is pretty commensurate with what you would get by locking yourself. But of course, you just have liquidity to exit through at any time. So my interpretation of that is just people are finding it much more convenient, lower risk to go in and out than self-locking. Um, I'm not sure what that says about the general design of the Prisma locker and whether there needs to be like uh, more more rules or like reason for people to want to solo lock. But yeah, it seems to be the way things are playing out right now that people are enjoying holding Y Prisma and CVX Prisma.
Yeah. So site here is for Y Prisma, and as you mentioned, Y Prisma is YCRV. So this means if I take Y Prisma, I am stables in the same manner.
Yeah, so let me, yeah, I probably introduced this site kind of weird, but this site is just sort of like a neutral, just data dashboard site for a bunch of different. One of the things I love about Prisma is there's like a ton of data that you can get out of the contracts, and sort of the level of like games that you can do with the tokenomics and things that you need to be watching is just so vast. The purpose of the site is just like expose this data. So I think what you're looking at now is basically a comparison of the liquid lockers, and then we publish stuff about the emissions schedule, and then they've got this whole concept of like a boost marketplace that we try to shed some light on in one of those other tabs. So yeah, this Prisma.lol is just totally like open source data dashboard type thing. But if you want to go to the official site for Y Prisma, that would be yprisma.yearn.fi.
Let's
It
go
will
ahead
look
and pull it
very
up.
familiar.
Let's switch tabs here and walk through that one. And I noticed the rainbow is shaped like slightly different, but other than that, it looks pretty similar so far. So this is not a rainbow percent APR, and this is like an actual legit 81% staking APR for Y Prisma in stables, right?
Yes,
So
correct.
if Prisma's price stays where it's at now, 10 cents for the rest of the year, I'll have paid it back essentially within a year.
Yep.
Like
And you can see this is actually good. I'm glad you came to the site, because now that the numbers have kicked in since this has been deployed longer than YCRV, of course, we can kind of like walk through and see what it might look like for YCRV users in the future. But yeah, we put the average APR up in the top right, and so that number is well, yep, there we go. That number in 81.80 is like the average system APR. So if you take the total TVL and compare that to like the rewards that we got for this week, that is the amount that we're getting. But then if you go down to the bottom right, yeah, where the arrow is, that separates a user with the 1x, which is kind of the lowest yield earning boost that you can have, all the way up to the 2.5x, which is the highest. And you can see the spread there. So if you're a 2.5x max boost user, right now you're earning 176%, which of course is sort of outpacing the average. So this is kind of like the mechanics that of YBS that people can expect. People who have been staked longer are earning more.
Okay, so I just take a Prisma stash, dump it in here, and if the price stays the same, it's paid back within 6 months. Like, this is getting wild. This is why I say, like, I think people are sleeping on DeFi a little bit. But yeah, whatever. Like, the more people do not pay attention to this, and I get to have all these yields for myself, the better. So I'm very glad when people don't watch. But unfortunately, we crossed the 1,000 mark. But thank you for everyone for getting us there. Cybernetics is a question. What standard are liquid lockers? I'm assuming referring to ERC EIP standards.
Well, so there's a number of contracts. The token itself, so YCRV, is just a regular ERC20. We have the vault that you deposit it into for the auto compounding. And actually, if you're in Y Prisma, that's going to be a 4626 vault, which also, by the way, is an extension of an ERC20, so qualifies as both. But if you're in the old, if you're in YCRV, we're just recycling the old Yearn v2 vault, which since 4626 didn't exist back then, it's just a regular old Yearn v2 vault. And then I guess YBS itself is none of those. It's just a staking contract, which, as far as I'm aware, there's no standards for those.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe one day. Yeah. I was thinking about writing like a technical. I mean, we kind of got into like some of the interesting technical things about YBS and thinking about writing a blog post, but I started and I couldn't, like, I don't know. I just don't think it'll have like mass appeal to the audience, but there is some interesting stuff like we talked about with like what's going on in the guts of the Solidity code. So if anyone is interested in getting into that, just maybe you can ping me and give me some motivation to write that.
Hey, that'd be great. If you want to work on it with me, we could republish it in my blog. I think that'd be really of interest to my readership.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to do that.
Every now and then I publish like just like hardcore technical stuff, and I don't lose readers as I expect. Like I do it to try and prune the follower count a bit, and they keep subscribing, so it's kind of backfiring.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'd love to kind of show it's honestly a great example for yeah, people who are trying to get like one level deeper into Solidity and like I don't know. It's a very clean example of like how to do these bitwise operations and storage slot packing and just be as efficient with your gas as you can be. So there's some neat tricks in there that might be worthy of a write-up and sharing. So yeah, let's do it.
Can I check back on these numbers on this Prisma.lol site? Just because we were looking at the actual site a bit ago, and it was saying that on the site it was 81.8% was the average staking APR, which could be boosted up to 176%. But here it's claiming anywhere between like 79% as staking APR to 88.5% boosted. So
Yeah. So I'd have to get back to you. I think I pushed the changes for this site like the week before I left for my honeymoon a few weeks ago, and I haven't revisited it since with all the YBS launches. But yeah, it looks like there is a small difference in the staking there. But for LP, this is coming straight from like the Prisma, basically the Prisma gauge, and that should match up, but I don't think we put that number on the Y Prisma site.
Gotcha. I know that we've talked a lot about this, like just some of the kind of like cool and interesting facets of how Prisma is actually designed. Before we move off the topic of Prisma onto why ETH is what we'd like to talk about next, any like kind of like interesting trivia about like Prisma that you'd want to share? Just like some of these kind of like fun fun facts about Prisma and how it's designed and how it's like built out as operations that might be of interest.
Yes. I kind of touched just briefly on, and I'm kind of just picking a topic at random here, but one of my favorite things about it is this concept of a boost marketplace. And on Prisma.lol, we're looking at before, we try to make a listing of like every person that's willing to sell their boost and what their fee is and how much boost they have to sell, just to kind of like expose information and make this a more efficient market. But yeah, it's funny because so many people define boost as different things, right? Like it means one thing in the Curve world and a different thing here in the YBS world, and then a different thing here in Prisma. But what they've done is pretty interesting, right? It's like the boost matters only at one like discrete moment in time, and that's when you're claiming of rewards. And so each week there's like a certain amount of total boost in the system that's allocated for the week, and it gets distributed according to some function of of like who's the biggest VE Prisma holders, right? And if you're a big holder, you get a big slice of that week's boost. And maybe there's some users that don't happen to be farming that week or farming less that week, and they have some excess boost, they can go sell it, right? So the way that they sell that is it's real simple. You basically just announce to the Prisma contract that you want to be what's called a boost delegate. So you make yourself eligible, and then you set your fee. So I think like a standard fee might be something like 10%. So that means when any user on the site who's a farmer goes to basically almost like a checkout process, right? They're claiming for the week, but as part of the flow in their claim is they're presented with a screen. Do you want to use your own boost, or do you want to use a boost delegates fee, or a boost delegates boost and pay their fee? And I would say maybe in like 99% of the cases, especially if you're what do you call it? Just like a farm and dumper, maybe like you might not have locked any Prisma. You just want to use someone else's boost and pay a small fee. You can get up to 2x of your claim. So you buy that boost from either Convex or Yearn or some other delegate. You pay their fee, and then the size of your claim effectively grows. So you get a bigger claim, and then you pay your fee. And so like, even though Yearn or Convex or whoever these people selling their boost, they did nothing in this process, they're still generating some income that way. And so this is like a whole new source of revenue that doesn't exist in other VE systems. And I think that invention was pretty cool.
It is. All this is pretty cool. So I have several questions about this, but first, just like a general comment, if you're looking for an EIP to write, maybe you could standardize the meaning of boost through some sort of like boost standard. But
I love that.
one of the questions I have about this whole thing is like, first of all, like, why Prisma.eth? Presuming that's actually you and not a domain squatter, you look like you're charging 50% boost, whereas everyone else is charging like 15 to 4% for their boost. How does why Prisma get away with such high fees on that?
Yeah, well, I guess the secret is that we're not actually selling any yet. Like the total sales is 0, and that fee was set intentionally, right? Like to basically discourage sales at the moment, because we want to give our weekly allocation to people who mint Y Prisma. So like as part of that claim flow, I kind of mentioned or compared it to like maybe you're on Amazon or something and you're going through the checkout screens and you have to answer some questions. One of the questions they ask you is do you want to claim your Prisma as locked to yourself or locked to somebody else? And in this example, right, like we want to encourage people to lock to Yearn. And so we give them a cheap fee. I think it's 5% right now. So if they lock to Yearn, we mint them Y Prisma 1-to-1 and only charge 5%. But the fee that you're looking at on that screen is for an individual that chooses to lock to themselves, not to Yearn. Then we charge a 50% fee.
And who is actually like still like interested in buying these boosts? We've heard that like, Prisma's a ghost town, it's dead, all that blah blah blah. Are there like actually use cases for people who, since the hack, have been interested in purchasing some of these, like, or using this boost marketplace? And if so, like, what's the like use case?
Yeah. And I think it's important to like emphasize, right? Like the boost is it's just a multiplier on your claim, right? So it would be almost silly for someone not to purchase boost when they're making their claim. Like let's say you've never used Prisma before, you have no lock, but you want to farm some Prisma, right? So because you have no boost yourself, your options are to claim with no boost or claim with purchased boost. And the market for purchasing boost is much better than like you're going to pay less to get some boost on your claim than you would claiming with 0x boost yourself.
Very cool. Very cool. Anything else on Prisma before? I know DeFi Advisor wanted to ask about why ETH before whatever time you have to bounce.
Yeah, no, just I guess I'll just repeat myself. I think they've gotten some good exposure obviously throughout their life, but I think it's still maybe a little underappreciated what they've done with the tokenomics, and maybe it's because it's so complicated and so new. And maybe I compare that like I'm always like uh, always so impressed with how many people have come into the Curve ecosystem, with like given how complex the contracts are and the rules around locking and admin fees and boosts and this and that, and like it's crazy when you look back and reflect on like how complicated this is, but what a big community is formed around it and who all know these rules like the back of their hand and are experts on it. um, it's really, I assume it's just extremely hard to build a community like that, and it just takes time. I think Prisma tokenomics could experience something very similar. It's just sort of like in the growth phase. I think what they've built is really cool. People are still learning and getting in the weeds of it. Um, and I hope to see those tokenomics forked in many protocols to come.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that effect you're talking about, I think it is the case with like a lot of DeFi projects. I look at points programs the same way. Is like these like needlessly complicated rules, layers, that if you look in any Discord or Telegram group for these like random long tail of projects, there's hundreds of people who have like bought into these rules and know them like the back of their hand. Like they keep changing. A lot of these aren't even
Yes.
on chain. Just like kind of changes from week to week. But people still like follow it. And I think within 4 years' time, like all those protocols that survive will be in the same place that like Curve and Yearn are in today. Is they just like stick around, the communities will kind of grow. At least that's been my
Yep.
observation with all these like DeFi protocols. The ones that survive for long enough, like kind of get these like Lindy effects.
Totally agree. Yep.
Hey, Sam says Squid Life. That describes Leviathan too. For those who don't know, we have a Telegram channel where people can earn our worthless squid token in exchange for submitting headlines to our 24-hour news ticker. That's on Telegram. So feel free to check out the show notes for all the links to everything. DeFi Advisor, you want to take this ETH?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to, as long as we already have Wavey here and we're talking about all these Y lockers and all these products by Yearn, I am actually kind of curious to hear a bit, maybe some metrics about YETH and like, is it going the way you guys are hoping? And like, maybe if you can even like, if you have like a minute or two to even share a bit about like what separates maybe YETH to like other LSTs.
Yeah, I can give like sort of like a broad outline of how it works. I would probably not be doing it justice to like give any metrics on it. I haven't been plugged in. I've been actually away for the last few weeks, so it's haven't been keeping an ear to the ground on that one. But yeah,
You're
so the
telling me
way
on your
YETH
honeymoon you weren't
works.
just talking about DeFi with your wife the entire time?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, honeymoon, YBS launch, and yeah, I mentioned I got really sick on the honeymoon, so I'm still in recovery mode there. Um, but but yeah, YETH is actually really cool, and I hope people get a chance to kind of like check out how it works. But we have like an extremely smart developer here at Yearn, uh, built that one, and he's one of the also a Viper maxi, right? So the whole code base is in Viper. It's very similar, actually. The mechanics for how it works is very similar to a curve pool, but it's just I would call it just a modified curve pool. So you added a bunch of interesting features, right? So one of the things is you can add assets on the fly to the curve pool. You can change parameters like target percentages. So sort of, if anyone's familiar with Balancer, they've got these, for example, like an 80-20 pool where the pool targets an 80% allocation of one asset and a 20% of the other. This works the same. So each asset has a target allocation. And the DAO that forms around, like the governance that forms around YETH gets to vote in new assets and also gets to adjust those allocations. So there is like a whole bribe system that emerges around that, and all that goes to sort of like increase the yield into the system. So I think that if when you see YETH earning more APR, it's because it's getting all the APR of these LSTs that are inside of that pool, and then in addition to that, it's getting some of this bribe income as well.
So it's currently earning about 3.32%. It says there, which is decent, but it's not like standout compared to a lot of the other
Yep.
ETH wrappers, right?
Yes, I would agree. In fact, that number seems a little low compared to like when I checked recently. So maybe it's just like a timing thing, but yeah, it's nothing. There's no like magic behind it, but it is like extremely cool tech, I would say, and I think I think it's also like a pretty cool idea in order for like if a new LST came on the scene. A great way to sort of bootstrap their TVL, right, is get added to YETH and maybe bribe a little bit, and now you've got like a big user base right away through YETH.
Wait, I think that you should say it's pretty mundane tech, and that everything that's happening is magic.
Look
Yes,
who's
there you
on!
go. Yeah.
Hey, Sam, welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Got the whole gang together.
Yes, we do.
Wow, was nice. How are you guys this week? I'll be honest. I had a lot of fun at East Belgrade. Really, it was an amazing experience. But I really missed streaming with you guys. Looking forward to next week. Nice shirt, Sam, by the way.
Thank you. It's my weekend shirt. That's what happens when you have it. My wife dresses me when I want to. Actually, that's not true. I dress myself.
Sure.
Wavey, yeah, Wavey. Soon you're gonna be dressed like that then.
I know. Is that what I have to look forward to?
I think you'll know that I make it when I start wearing suits every day.
Like did we say that we're gonna have like a suit podcast together at some point? Like we talked about
back,
it like a few weeks ago, no?
Garrett's on hard times now because he's shifted away from the suit and he's gone casual. So I'll know that Garrett's made it again when he starts wearing the suit every day.
Hey, since I shifted to casual, Curve price has only gone down, so I feel like
exactly. Curve is trading at like near all-time lows. So like when it starts trading at $6 again, like he's gonna put the suit back on.
I'm saying the suit causes it, so like people don't trust Curve because like their leading advocate looks like he just rolled out of bed on the screen.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Wavey, since we're here, can we talk about Wi-Fi? Absolutely. So Wi-Fi is currently sitting at about $7,000. Like, why should I be long Wi-Fi right now? It's been like, this is the same price that Wi-Fi's been for 2 years now, since May 2022, which like I'm in the same boat with my frac shares, and it hurts a lot. But like what catalysts are we going to see for Wi-Fi kind of reemerging in this market?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of touched already on this, like the curse of these old school DeFi protocols that it just, even if you do something really cool or really innovative, it's like almost hard to move the needle because people want something like a fresh new token logo or a new like protocol name that's part of this DeFi 4.0 or whatever. But yeah, with Wi-Fi, I think like it's always just a bet on like the awesome builders that we have. I think we've got some of the the best developers in the game, and it's been that way for a long time. And there's a lot of innovation happening. So whether it's YETH or Y lockers, we've got cow swap solvers, we've got these new auction mechanisms, and of course,
can you go? Hold on 1 second. Wait, Garrett, can you go up a little bit? Show us that little comic, because this is indicative of the entire market right here. Here we go. This is where we are right now, right? And
Can you make it a bit bigger?
Oh yeah, well, give me 1 second. Let me just put us on the side here, right? So we should put the little Yearn logo on the bottom. Same thing for Frax as well too. I mean, I'm in this boat, so.
It's a new stable coin.
Can actually wait? Can I ask a question? So is YETH going to be added to Pendle?
I do not know of any plans, but that is a great question. We should. I can ask the YETH team for you.
Because I would really love a LRT ETH that's connected into Pendle, right? So I don't have to like pick and choose whether I want to go to like Puffer or Renzo or God knows what other like shady LRTs are out there that you don't know what they're doing or whether they have withdrawals or not. But if you index them all into one product, maybe it takes a little bit of that risk off.
Yes. Yeah, index is a great word for it. Yeah, and I think the tech behind YETH is certainly applicable to like say a new deployment to do some sort of stable coin or yield bearing. You've got all these yield bearing stable coins, or like you say, LRTs are out today. So yeah, these different little index products, I think it could be really interesting.
Yeah. That's where the market is right now. Like you're either LRT or bust. Like 3% yields are just kind of sad for LSTs right now. When last year 3% was great, right? So
I know it's funny. Yeah, when YETH was in development, it was like everyone was all about the LSTs, and the concept of LRT like didn't yet exist. But as soon as that one got floated, it's like LSTs were left in the dust. Nobody talked about them anymore.
Yeah, and what's pretty incredible is that all of the incumbents missed out on the LRT trends.
Yeah,
like what incumbent DeFi platform kind of properly saw Eigenlayer and restaking coming, and was like, hey, we should shift our product focus to be able to take care of this. I don't think anybody did. Like you look at Lido's just now coming about with what did they call their restaking platform? Like Symbiosis. Aave's kind of like getting on board now, but they lost a lot to Morpho in terms of TVL for LRTs. I know that Frax and they kind of like eschewed looking at LRTs as well too. Who else? You guys as well too. There's no like LRT product yet, and part of this is like product cycle. You kind of have to figure out like where we're going to put money towards. But it has let a lot of other new projects come up to take market share away, which has been interesting.
I'm curious what you think. Like, this is just an idea that popped in my head, but I'm curious what you think if there's any legitimacy. Is like sometimes with these new technologies, it's so like abstract. So when this category opens up like LRT, it's almost like the first mover advantage is the person who can just build the smoke screen with the like multi-sig behind it first. And I feel like if a Lido were to attempt to to build something like that, they would catch so much heat because they've spent the last few years like combating all the concerns about lack of decentralization, and is it like a central point of failure for Ethereum? And so it's like untenable maybe for them to get that first mover advantage in a new category.
Yeah, it's funny looking back in the narratives at the time when we were having all these discussions about like, do we need to have like voting at the the Ethereum kind of base layer to limit Lido's power. And we had this discussion for like 6 months, and we all thought that we were really smart and that we were going to have to implement some new protocol functions to keep Lido from going over 33%. And Lido's response was just like, build a better product. And you know what? They were right. Their dominance is down by quite a bit. They're in the 20s now. I think they're at like 24% now. So they've lost about 8%, which is huge. And the reason they've been able to lose it is not because of the existing LSDs that came out, like Rocket Pool or Frax or any of the other LSDs that are on the market. It wasn't that. It was these brand new LRTs which sucked away millions of ETH away from Lido and into their own protocols. And that's all that was needed. It was just a better product, more incentives, better incentives.
Yeah, but is it a better product though, or is it like points mania?
The incentives are better, and that's what matters in crypto at the end of the day. I mean, like
True,
you
true,
laugh,
true.
but yeah,
No, I'm with you. On the contrary, I'm just saying that it really changed the game, and we are still not sure like how much will people actually benefit. I mean, it's not even the incentivization; it's the thought of the possible incentivization. You know?
Yeah. I think that it's just one of those things. Like when people see that there's a way to be mercenary and the switching costs. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is that the switching costs in crypto are extremely low. And that to shift over into new products, especially when they're as liquid as they are, like LSDs and LRTs, just makes it easy to chase yield. Like, why sit making 3% with Lido, or any of the other LSDs right now, when you can make 30% just by taking your funds and putting in the Pendle and buying PTs? Like,
the switching cost is going to be interesting, I think, with these LRTs, and you've got the extra lockups on top of what the beacon chain forces you through. So
yeah.
Oh, and by the way, shout out to Yield Nest.
Yeah.
Amadeus, he's friends with the podcast, right? I know he's big in the Curve community, and but yeah, he's running a great thing over at Yield Nest with their new LRT. They asked me to be an advisor on that one, so it's been fun working with them. They spent a lot of time on their token design and actually on that issue I was just mentioning, which is like good proper withdrawal flows so that users can get it liquid as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Look, the points meta is going to, or at least the points for the LRTs is going to subside at some point. Subside at some in the future. And so the yields are going to come back down, and you're no longer going to be able to get 30% on the PTs on Pendle, and or engage in these sort of like degen looping that can push that PT yield up to like 3 digits. And when that happens, EigenLayer is probably going to put maybe like, I don't know, 0.5% at max onto these LRTs. And then they have to go back to competing. And when they have to go back to competing against Frax and Lido, I think it's going to be a new story. And we're going to see how the actual market dynamics play out. And hopefully they figure out how to have a big enough moat at that point. And everything will just get wrapped into more Yearn products on on Wavey.
For sure. Yeah, there was what was the LRT that had the big crash?
Renzo.
I guess Renzo. Yeah, they took the price out like 30.
I mean, it wicked like 80% down on some networks, depending on how much liquidity was available. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. The cool thing now is that this whole restaking thing is going to cause ripple effects. Like Bitcoin restaking is coming, like Solana restaking. This is just the beginning.
What is Bitcoin restaking?
How is that even possible?
I don't ask questions. I just
you just get the point and count them.
Exactly. But there are Bitcoin restaking is on the cusp. it's coming sometime this year or later this year. But I'm looking at the leading Bitcoin restaking platform. They have $1 billion already in their stake.
What?
Yeah.
But in the Bitcoin staking, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, how can you stake Bitcoin?
Guys, Eigenlayer.
Yeah, I know. I ask too much question.
I don't know either, but somebody's figured out how to do it, and it's coming soon.
Yeah, man, but you're totally right, Sam, on the whole incentivization point of things. Like, this drives so much capital, and it makes people move. And yeah, we're gonna see some crazy stuff probably. We haven't seen the last of points, let's say.
No, and we haven't seen the last of the like DeFi 1.0 either. Like, people will figure out that value is sexy at some point, and all of our projects will be hitting all-time highs again, hopefully later this year.
Amen. Amen.
There you go.
Since you are all a bit more plugged in, has anyone given a go at LRRT, restaking of restaking?
Oh my God.
Like, how
Is
many
that
times
real?
have you rocked this?
Is that a real thing?
It should be. It's the next obvious step, right?
Honestly, yes. Why not really extract some capital from the system, you know?
Wait, so Wavey, what are you like thinking about for the second half of this year?
Oh man. Well, I think like one of the cool things that we're doing at Yearn, and it's not necessarily a Yearn technology or anything, but I'm pumped to see just like more on-chain automation. So as you guys know, like it's traditionally been like pretty unsafe to conduct like token swaps. I'll give the example of a Yearn strategy, right? Like when a Yearn strategy auto compounds, so it sells a reward token into the underlying, it has to specify like a minimum output on the DEX, whether it's Uniswap, Curve, whatever. And like unless there's an operator, like a person manning it to put that expected output in at the time of the swap, you basically just have to put like 0, right? And then send your transaction through a private relay. So basically you've got this problem of like you want to be automating these swaps all the time and getting the best possible outcome. And like, how do we solve that problem? It's been unsolved for a long time. And it's kind of similar. Actually, Curve has a similar thing with their burner contracts, right? You have to send these transactions through like a trusted source so that they're so like an MEV person doesn't sandwich you. So all that preamble just to say like there's some really cool auction systems that are getting released soon, and the premise of this is that you know, there's just a standalone contract out there. It offers the sell token and then specifies a buy token, and it starts the price at some number super high, and as every second ticks by, the price falls lower and lower and lower until it reaches the market price. And the second it drops below the market price, right, like bots anywhere should be incentivized to purchase that token. This is referred to as a Dutch auction. So I think these Dutch auction mechanisms, they're not like super widespread now, but we see Uniswap and I'm blanking on the other market that like lending market that's launching soon uses them heavily, and Yearn, of course. So I think like these little like clever mechanisms that you can use to get bots from anywhere in the world, like just these little like market games that you can play to get people to do work for you, I think is very interesting. And there's going to be like cool revenue opportunities, whether you're just like a college kid in his dorm or in your mom's basement or whatever. It's like you can play these little MEV games and watch these auctions and actually go like arb these various auctions that pop up and make some money. It's really cool. That's really cool to me, like the decentralization of like just actions, on-chain actions.
That's pretty cool. I like auctions. Sweet. What about outside of Yearn? What are you interested? What's been scratching that itch?
Well, are we talking outside of like blockchain, or are we talking still within blockchain?
I mean, anything. Like when you like finish your 15 hours of Adderall and Red Bull fueled like Yearn development.
There you go. Yeah, a day in the
Okay,
life. How'd you know?
we need to clip this one.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the Zens as well too. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you take out the double sixes, the 40 milligrams of Adderall wear off, and you know you run
Yeah.
out of your 6-pack Red Bull for the day.
With Sam, sometimes
Well-
the points the show gets PG rated or however you say it, like pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll keep it blockchain related, and the topic of Bitcoin came up. So yeah, I'll note that I have like a really actually excellent local Bitcoin meetup, and there's a couple like actually very prominent Bitcoiners that run it. They're just like extremely intelligent people. I think they would be awesome assets to Ethereum, and for the life of me, I like try and convince them to make the jump over. But it's really fun to go to those meetups, right? Because there's like I just see these guys struggling with problems that are just like not even things that you have to think about in Ethereum. They're still trying to solve like a basic multi-sig and like and like how there's some new opcode called OP Vault, which is like basically I guess like a time lock and this kind of stuff. It's just stuff that was like Ethereum was concerned about like 4 or 5 years ago, and so like we're moving on. All that stuff is like kind of baked into the protocol. We're doing cool stuff, but I feel like there's so many smart engineers over in Bitcoin that are just kind of like banging stones together like caveman times, like trying to figure this stuff out. And I feel like if we just show them the light, like we can get them over working with us. So I don't know. That's been one of the things that's been going on in the back of my head. I love Bitcoin, but it's just not like, man, you're so much more powerful on a Turing complete blockchain like Ethereum. So
How is your C++?
not good. I don't know C++.
What are they writing in, those Bitcoin developers?
That's a good question. I think is it C++? Not sure, to be honest, but I mean they're doing some of the stuff they'll present at the meetups. Like I said, is like a new Bitcoin opcode, for example. So they're getting like real deep into like the compiler level stuff, like, but in the Bitcoin world, and they're just so much more restricted, right? What they have to work with, and anybody even attempting to introduce a new opcode is going to have to go through a lot of fire just to convince people to either soft or hard fork the Bitcoin chain. So fun times over there.
So they just did an upgrade. They added OP Cat, and it's going to add smart contract like environments to Bitcoin.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think OP Cat like did it gets you like a certain ways, but it's not the expressivity is like still nowhere near. I think you have to do like just some crazy tricks to to make something worth it, and then plus you know Bitcoin transaction costs are like untenable. I think what they're trying to do, right, is just move any of this sort of logic onto what they're dubbing these like Bitcoin L2s, and just worry about like putting an EVM on there, and that's the move, right? But I haven't been yet convinced that like there's a way to do a trustless like L2 bridge in the same way that you can do for Ethereum. Uh, I don't think that's possible, but I could be wrong.
If so,
Wow.
we'll have to get Squid on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, could we use the Yearn wrapper that you built for Prisma and Curve for Y Squid?
You could do it today. Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk.
Right on. Are you guys going to have like any sort of governance?
We can't say or
Yeah,
we'll
we
go
have
to prison.
We have been having some interesting ideas about like what to use the Squid token for.
Yeah, definitely one recently that you
Share.
had sent.
Yeah.
Share some ideas.
So I had this idea, like, so I was researching hieroglyphs the other day, and they have this thing called the Harbinger tax or Herbinger tax. Essentially, anybody can like bid for the top spot, and then there's like a kind of a half-life tax to where, like, if you bid, let's say you bid like 1,000 squid, right? That squid will kind of deteriorate over time, and if somebody comes and bids higher than that, then you have a small window where you can try to bid higher, and keep your spot. Otherwise, the person switches out with you. And so we could use that as a way for people to claim the advertising space by essentially buying and then posting the squid up. And whoever has the top spot gets the ad space.
I love it.
Yeah, I just figured out how to get it hooked up to Telegram to do so. So maybe coming soon.
Oh, really? Oh,
Maybe
wow.
not. We'll find out.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Wavy, do you see with what guys I'm working at? Like, I'm so fascinated to just be like between these guys. This is insane, man. What is even going on?
Man.
Incredible,
I'm
man.
with you.
Incredible.
I'm directly in the mix.
And if they are mid curves, I don't want to say what I am, man. If they are mid curves, I don't want to say what I am.
It's right. I want to be on the left. I don't want to be in the mid. I'd rather be on the left.
You'll have to get a lot lefter for what you're doing right now.
I know.
But you're good. On the contrary, I prefer you like right where you are. With time, you'll have enough time to be a left curve. You know, like you'll have time.
Well, that's when we become a Solana podcast and start lighting ourselves on fire for likes.
Yeah, we have like Leviathan Angels. Where are all the girls? You know what I mean? Like, where do we have like parties and girls?
Well, look at us. That's the reason why.
Speaking of Solana podcasts,
not exactly
the calendar.
There was some good Blockworks. I was a big fan of the Blockworks podcast, but I feel like they've converted a lot to Solana lately. Like I've put a lot of resources in that one. I'm glad to see you guys not making the leap yourselves.
By the way, did you guys see the exchange between Hayden and what's his name and Nansen?
No.
Did you see it?
No.
That was funny, man. You should see it.
Is this the one where you called everybody socialists or something? Like, or this is separate?
No, he was like saying that like Hayden wrote something, and then Hayden replied. I will try to find it in a minute. And then he was like telling Hayden that he's like doing. He's trying to do the Ethereum community a favor or something like that. Like, and I was like, quoted it like, man, you know, like these guys, they don't need your favors. You know what I mean? Like, look how smart they're actually building the new finance while you're like pumping all these like dumb tokens and celebrity tokens that you were like telling them that you try to help them. Like, what a narcissist. I will try to find the post. Give me a minute.
Well, I think you should just steer clear of influencers and stick to reputable news sources like Leviathan News.
Indeed. Indeed.
There you go.
Yeah. Wavey, you should probably let you get going. I know that your wife probably doesn't want like you spending time with the squids all day. But before we bounce, like any final like alpha you want to give, anything you want to shout out,
He
plug?
might be coming dumber any minute, you know. He might be coming dumber with each minute going by. So you should protect yourself, man. It's your asset.
You slide further and further
yeah.
left curve the longer we go on.
No, I really don't have too much alpha these days, unfortunately. But I do want to just say thanks for having us on. It was really awesome to. This thing's been somewhat of a labor of love, right? So it's always cool to talk about it with people that are interested and share information. So I hope people learn something. Like I said, reach out if anyone's interested in like getting a little more in the weeds and how the code works. But yeah, no, other than that, just super grateful to you guys. Love the podcast. Each one of you guys are awesome and huge asset to the community we're all working in. So thank you.
Thank you, man.
Peace.
You guys are the real assets, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Exactly.
All right,
All
friends, another successful Llama party. It's June 7th, and we'll catch you all next tide.
Check out the newsletter.
Okay.
Check out everything.